I was called a useless wife, so I left home with everything. His reaction? Bone-chilling. The night air was thick, wrapping around Ava like a suffocating cloak, heavy with tension and uncertainty. She stood at the edge of the driveway, her heart pounding like a primal drum, ready to break free from the life that had become a prison. The words still echoed in her mind, useless wife, a stinging proclamation from the man she once loved. Those words ignited a fire within her, a blaze of determination flaring hotter than the streetlights illuminating her figure, casting eerie shadows that danced like phantoms on the pavement. How could he? How could he belittle her so deeply? Ava's hands trembled as she gripped the handles of the faded blue suitcase, the kind she had painted with memories, now filled with things that defined her. The vibrant color seemed out of place against the starkness of the night. It boldly declared her choice. She was not going back. The sky faded into an inky blackness, and every moment stretched like a taut rubber band, ready to snap. The first strange element crept forward as she caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of her eye, a figure lurking by the trees, watching her. Could it be a trick of the light? Or the aftermath of her paranoia? A chill traced down her spine, tightening her chest. She squinted but saw nothing more than the rustling branches flickering in the faint wind. Her nerves crackled like static electricity, every breath tasted like fear on her tongue. As she turned to the road ahead, a low growl interrupted the stillness, vibrations curling through the air, making her heart race even faster. Was it just car engines in the distance, or something more sinister? The urge to run hit her, propelling her feet forward, but the mystery of that fleeting shadow still held her captive. Did someone or something follow her? The uncertainty twisted in her stomach like a tight knot, threatening to pull her into the dark depths of panic. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a deep breath, she pushed the worry aside, her focus sharpening. As she passed the last of the streetlights, the darkness enveloped her completely. What awaited her in the stillness of the night? What if escaping was only the beginning of something much worse? A crack of thunder echoed, slicing the silence. The storm was coming, and she was right in its path. Would she dare to face it, or would she be swept away, lost to the shadows? The question hung in the air like a mystery begging to be unraveled. Ava pressed on, her heartbeat a frantic rhythm against the background of the brewing storm. The wind picked up, swirling leaves and debris with a ferocity that mirrored her swirling thoughts. Each step felt heavier, as the weight of her decision settled in her chest. She glanced behind her once more, half expecting to see the shadowy figure re-emerging, ready to drag her back into the life she had just fled. Rumbling thunder shattered the night, almost as if the sky itself was angry at her departure. The dark clouds crackled and roiled overhead, their fury matching her internal storm. She squeezed her eyes shut, focusing on the sound of her footsteps crunching on gravel, hoping it would drown out the unsettling premonitions swirling in her mind. Was she truly free, or had she merely unleashed a different kind of bondage? The road ahead stretched long and twisted. She had no plan, no clear path, only the world's promises waiting just beyond the horizon. But what awaited her there? Freedom? Or just a different trap? Her stomach knotted tighter at the thought, her breath growing shallow. Suddenly, the growl returned, low and menacing, sending a surge of adrenaline racing through her veins. It was unmistakable, a sound that surged from the depths of something primal and predatory. She turned her head sharply, scanning the line of trees flanking the road. The bushes rustled more violently now, branches clutching at the air like skeletal hands reaching out to her. Ava, her name drifted on the wind, soft yet laced with an edge that made her skin prickle. It was a voice she recognized, one she wished to forget. She took a step back, every instinct screaming at her to run. But before she could turn, a figure stepped out from the shadows. The soft light from the distant street lamps glinted off familiar features. Jason. What are you doing here? he demanded, his voice a harsh whisper that sliced through her fear. His presence loomed larger than life, amplified by the darkness behind him. The memories of love twisted and morphed into resentment. Was this the man she once adored, or had he transformed into something more sinister? Stay away from me. Ava's voice cracked, but the resolve surged in her. The suitcase felt heavy, but it wasn't just filled with belongings. It was her shield, a reminder of her worth. I want to go back. You can't make me. A chilling smile swept across Jason's face, and his eyes glinted with something cold and predatory. You think you can just walk away? You don't know the lengths I will go to find you, Ava. Panic threatened to overtake her, but she couldn't back down now. Not after everything. The growl grew louder in the distance, reverberating off the trees like a warning echoing in her core. The storm rumbled above, as if nature itself was responding to this confrontation, urging her to either make a choice or succumb to the tempest brewing around her. Ava felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. They weren't just tears of fear, they were tears of defiance. No more. I am done with your games, done with your threats. But her voice wavered under the weight of uncertainty. Jason took a step forward, his demeanor shifting, predatory, and the air around him crackled with dark energy. What was his next move? Should she flee, or confront the very storm that had chased her into this fearful confrontation? And just then, Jason's expression changed. Something dark flickered behind his eyes as he scanned the foliage. You're not alone in the dark, are you? He muttered, voice low and unsettling. Ava's heart stopped. The growl returned, now joined by another, more chilling sound like footsteps padding through leaves. What lay hidden in the shadows? And had she truly escaped or just stepped from one danger into another? The tension hung palpably in the air, as the storm above raged, the rain beginning to pelt down, filling the world with thunderous chaos. Before she could act, a piercing howl echoed from deeper within the trees, and both Ava and Jason turned to face the encroaching dark. What was waiting for them in the shadows? Ava's heart raced as she braced for whatever lurked in the shadows. The howl twisted through the trees, vibrating in her bones, a primal sound that sent chills cascading down her spine. She could barely focus on Jason. His eyes flickered between her and the darkness, revealing conflict beneath his calm facade. Could he feel it too? The fear creeping closer like tendrils seeking to ensnare them both? Run, Jason hissed, suddenly seeming less like a predator and more like a desperate man. She hesitated, riddled with uncertainty, while instinct screamed at her to flee. But the ground shook with heavy footfalls, the underbrush cracking under the weight of something massive. What if it's not just them? Ava shot back, glancing beyond Jason. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were both being watched. Just go. He lunged towards her, but in that split second, she saw a flicker of something in his expression, a glimpse of fear, perhaps even desperation that she had not seen before. But the moment was fleeting, swallowed by the encroaching storm. Ava's pulse thundered in her ears as droplets began to fall from the swirling clouds, camouflaging the chittering sounds from the depths of the woods. She turned, heart pounding, the suitcase weighing heavily in her hand, suddenly feeling like a ball and chain tethering her in place. The growls intensified again. Something was coming. She could feel the air shift, heavy with menace. We need to get out. She clutched the suitcase tighter, torn between the shadows and the only person she'd known for years, now strangely distant. Then, without warning, a great silhouette burst from the trees, a massive wolf, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. It stood poised, muscles rippling under taut fur, jaws gaping in a menacing snarl that set every nerve alight within her. A growl deepened, intertwining with the storm, each beat of thunder harmonizing with the creature's chilling roar. Ava! Jason cried out, extending a hand, but his voice was swallowed by the monstrous howl, a sound that felt like it was meant to shatter her very resolve. He finally transitioned from the predator she feared to the ally she desperately needed. In the distance, there were more howls, chilling echoes from all directions, each one promising danger. Ava's mind raced. What is happening? What did you get us into? Jason's voice lost its calm. I swear, it's not what you think. There are forces at play here that are beyond us. Ava choked down the burgeoning panic spiraling in her chest. Would she trust him again? Would she even have the choice? I want to let you drag me into this. But before she could bolt, the wolf moved, inches from them now, muscles tensed, poised to pounce. It wasn't he just a creature but a symbol of every fear she had ever faced. The primal terror curled in her gut as she realized one truth: she was still trapped, the cage just made of fur and fangs. The howls intensified, merging into a chorus of chaotic noise. Each sound heaved with a deep, throaty dissatisfaction that gnawed at her core. The world around her seemed to collapse, rain cascading heavily, blurring the edges of reality. Stand back! Jason yelled, stepping in front of her, the wolf's intensity now shifted solely onto him. Ava's breath caught in her throat. What are you doing? Protecting you. He bellowed, and for a moment, she saw the man she once knew fighting against all odds, even if it meant defying his own fate. That heartbeat of hesitation. As rain fell in torrents, she realized the danger bore not just physicality but something darker: secrets, truths she didn't know. Were they merely pawns in a danger far more significant than either of them had expected? The growl turned into a single, guttural voice that reverberated through the storm, and Ava knew something would change here tonight. But as the wolf lunged toward Jason, she was faced with the choice: would she bury the past for a fleeting chance to escape, or create a storm of her own? The shadows seemed to laugh with sinister glee. What lay waiting behind that howl? And would it finally bring the truth she never wanted to face? The wolf's growl echoed, tearing through the chaos as it lunged toward Jason. Time slowed, and Ava's heart felt like a drum pounding against her ribs. She didn't want to think, just react. Jason, she screamed, the sound ripping from her throat as she instinctively stepped forward. The rain pelted down harder, mixing with her growing desperation, but Jason stood firm, a bulwark against the monstrous creature. Ava, back, he bellowed, arms wide, ready to take on this supernatural threat. The wolf's massive jaws snapped shut just inches from his face, glistening fangs dangerously close. Ava was frozen, rooted in place. The man she thought she knew was now a shield against something that should not exist. And that idea alone was overwhelming. The air thickened, soaked with tension and rain. "Why are you protecting me?" she gasped. The words tumbled from her mouth before she could stop them. The world around her was slipping, and perhaps so was she. His eyes flashed with something fierce, something raw. "Because we're in this together," Jason replied, his unwavering gaze trained on the wolf's shining eyes. As if sensing their connection, the wolf's growl morphed into a howl that seemed to vibrate through the ground beneath them, curling up into their very core. And then it stood its ground, fixated on Jason, muscles taut like a coiled spring, ready to strike. That moment, all doubt faded. She wouldn't turn back. Ava realized she could either stand there paralyzed with fear or fight with everything she had. Taking a deep breath, she made her choice. "Let go of the suitcase," she shouted suddenly, her voice cutting through the storm's roar. Jason glanced back, confusion etched on his face. "What? Why?" "Just do it," Ava urged, her heart racing. She released her hold and the suitcase hit the ground with a thud, splashing mud everywhere. The wolf's attention shifted for that brief moment as it looked from Ava to the suitcase, its snarl wavering. It was an opening, however small, and Ava took a step back, bracing for what would follow. Jason seized the opportunity. "Now," he yelled, and they both lunged together, circling away from the creature. The wolf snarled, confusion momentarily marring its predatory instincts. But its attention snapped back in an instant, and it was lunging again, jaw snapping. They sprinted, heart pounding, fingers brushing against each other as they weaved through the trees. The rain poured without mercy, drenching them, hiding their breaths in thick mist. "Is it following?" Ava shouted, seeking reassurance. "I think so." Jason's voice was strained. Ava's mind whirled, unanswered questions flooding her thoughts. Where were they going? Was this truly the only way? A flash of lightning illuminated the woods as they ducked behind a massive oak. Breathing heavily, they pressed their backs against the rough bark, heartbeats sinking, the only sound above the pounding rain. "Something is wrong here," she muttered, scanning the darkness. "We can't just run forever." Jason's face was pale, but fire flickered in his eyes. "You have to listen to me, Ava. This isn't just about us. There are other wolves. They're not just out for blood, they want something." "What do you mean?" Panic clawed at her throat. "What does it want?" Before Jason could answer, the wind howled again, sharp and frigid, carrying a familiar yet sinister sound. The wolf's howl joined by voices. Not just beasts, but whispers that took shape through the shadows, unsettling and cryptic. Ava's stomach twisted. "We need to move." But her feet felt like roots, the history between them binding her. "What if they find out?" he murmured, and she could see the walls he built around himself shaking beneath the fear spilling out of him. "For God's sake, what are you hiding, Jason?" He looked her directly in the eyes, a deeper truth lurking behind his gaze. "What if I told you that I'm not who you think I am?" A chill swept down her spine. The wolf howled again, closer this time. Holding her breath, Ava prepared for whatever lay ahead, the choices narrowing around her, each one more dangerous than the last. What if she learned the truth and it cost them both everything? Or would the shadows swallow them whole before they could uncover it? Ava's mind raced, each thought colliding violently with the next. Jason's words echoed like a hammer striking steel. "I'm not who you think I am." The forest around them pulsed with tension, shadows moving in the corners of her vision, waiting, watching. The wolf's growl reverberated, and the realization sank in, this creature was a harbinger of something they had not yet begun to understand. What do you mean?" Her voice trembled, fighting against the rain that drummed a relentless beat overhead. "You have to trust me," Jason said, desperation flickering in his eyes like the lightning high above. "I was part of it, Ava. Part of them. That's why this is happening." He gestured toward the shadows as if they could leap at any moment. "I thought it was over." His admission hung between them, heavy with implications. The fear from moments before was eclipsed by confusion and dread. "You're saying you're one of them? A wolf?" Jason shook his head, an urgency in his movements. "It's not just that. I'm different. It's a family legacy, one I never wanted. But they're coming. And they won't stop until they have what they seek." Ava's heart raced. Each word tethered her deeper into a storm of uncertainty. "What do they want? What could they possibly want with us?" Before he could respond, the wolf's howl pierced the air again, more feral, as if calling for reinforcements. Ava pressed her back harder against the tree, breath catching in her throat. Their moment of vulnerability was short-lived. The darkness surrounding them seemed to breathe, an entity alive with hunger. "We need to find shelter," Jason urged, snapping her from her spiraling fears. "Somewhere they can't find us. We can't let them take you or me." Ava nodded, forcing herself to focus. She pushed off the oak, scanning the forest for any escape route. But the trees loomed tall and unfriendly, each one casting shadows that danced frighteningly close. "That way." She pointed, seeing a flicker of light in the distance through the foliage. A cabin perhaps, or some kind of abandoned structure hidden among the trees. They sprinted again, weaving through the rain-soaked underbrush. The ground squelched beneath their feet, each step heavy from the mud that clung to their boots. Behind them, the sound of growls intensified. It was a chorus now, a pack closing in, hungry for the chase, hungry for blood. Fear surged in Ava's veins. What if they're waiting for us? What if it's a trap? Jason's jaw clenched, the fire in his eyes flickering, steadied by an urgent sense of purpose. Then we fight. We confront whatever this is together. As they reached the edge of the clearing, the structure came into view, dilapidated but intact. The door hung half open, inviting yet foreboding. "In!" Jason shouted, shoving the door wider. They rushed inside just as the first wolf lunged into the clearing, a massive shadow against the luminous sky. They stumbled into darkness, the smell of wood and dampness mixing with their fear. Ava's heart raced within her chest like a wild creature panicking for escape. She pressed against the wall, trying to catch her breath. "This can't be the end," she whispered, barely audible above the rain drumming on the roof. Jason paused, listening, his expression shifting from frantic to focused. "It's not just the wolves out there," he murmured. "They have a leader, someone who controls them. If they catch us, we'll be dragged into the heart of all this. They might even use us." A chill slithered down Ava's spine. "You mean?" But before she could finish, the cabin creaked. A slow, deliberate sound, as if something was testing the integrity of their hiding place. A low growl rumbled through the floorboards, visceral and close. Their eyes locked in fear, every instinct screaming to run, but where? "What if we can't fight them?" Ava whispered, the enormity of the situation crashing down around her. "Then we figure it out together," Jason replied, resolve surging in his voice. But the tremble in his hands betrayed an underlying fear. Heartbeats thudded like a distant drum, each second stretching into eternity. Then came the scratching, the eager claws of the wolf finding their way up the wooden door. Ava took a step back, ready to run, but Jason caught her wrist. His grip was firm, unyielding. "Whatever happens, trust me." The ancient door lurched against the wall, caution discarded. The creature's golden eyes pierced through the dark, glistening like shards of glass, and then, without warning, the door burst open. What they faced beyond that threshold would either break them or bind them together forever. The door exploded sideways, splintering the wood as the wolf surged into the cabin, its massive form eclipsing the weak light spilling through the doorway. Jason pulled Ava tight against him, their backs against the far wall, their breaths uneven and sharp as they faced this terror. The creature's growl echoed like rolling thunder, ferocious and hungry. Its eyes, burning with an unnatural hue, darted around the dim room, seeking out their scent. Claws dug into the wooden floorboards, glistening with the rain that followed them. It was an apex predator, brimming with strength and primal instinct. Time slowed. Ava's heart pounded wildly in her chest, a frantic rhythm threatening to drown her with fear. Jason's chin was lifted slightly, as if in defiance. "We wait for the right moment," he breathed, barely louder than a whisper, and Ava clung to his words, the only thread of hope stitched in their impending doom. The wolf darted to the left, sniffing the air, then back to the right. Jason's body tensed, coiling like a spring ready to unleash. Ava could feel the heat radiating from Jason, fear battling resolve in his body. "What do we do?" she gasped, panic bubbling over as the wolf turned toward them, muscles rippling beneath its fur. "Distract it." Jason exhaled. "But how?" There was a moment, a heartbeat's pause. Then Jason launched himself toward the adjacent window, shattering it with a fist. Glass sprayed outward. The wolf unleashed an ear-searing snarl, the sound vibrating through the cabin like a shockwave. It pivoted, instinct driven by the noise. Ava didn't think, she scuttled behind a nearby table, using the splintered wood as cover. As the wolf lunged for Jason, Ava spotted an old, rusted pot hanging crookedly from the wall. Without hesitation, she grabbed it, hefting the weight in her trembling hands. She didn't know what she aimed to do, but her heartbeat reminded her they had to survive. Jason grinned despite the chaos, igniting a flicker of bravery in her chest. "Now!" he shouted, throwing a piece of the broken window toward the darkness behind the wolf. It struck the ground, and the creature turned in confusion. Ava seized the moment and hurled the pot towards its massive frame. With a dull thud, it connected, sending the wolf stumbling backward. Growing emboldened, Jason rushed toward the door, shouting over the wolf's growls. "We've got to get out. This way." They darted through the makeshift exit, Jason leading, his movements fierce and determined. Outside, the storm licked at them, a torrential mix of rain and wind. The forest felt alive, shadows morphing as the lightning illuminated the scene. "Where do we go?" Ava shouted through the whistling wind. "East. We have to find the old mill." Jason replied, his voice steady despite the urgency in their flight. The trees thrummed with energy as they raced onward, but it wasn't just the storm. Ava felt something ancient, powerful echoing in the night, almost as if the land itself sensed their fear and defiance. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. Ava stumbled, glancing back. The wolf had recovered and was charging after them, its eyes alight with determination and fury as it closed the distance with terrifying speed. "Keep running!" Jason yelled, pulling Ava with him, her heart racing to keep up. The shadows thickened, and the branches above twisted, making every misstep feel fatal. She thought she could hear whispers, voices merging with the wind, each one pulling at her consciousness, demanding she remember her past, the legacy Jason had spoken of. What did she have to do with any of this? "Do you remember what I said? It's a family legacy." Jason's voice cut through her thoughts, urgency woven deep into his tone as they veered sharply left. Ava's breath hitched, a stark realization hitting hard. This wasn't just Jason's origin story. It couldn't be. She was a part of it, too. Something undeniable tugged at her memory, a link she couldn't quite grasp. But there was no time. No time to ponder, no time to fall back into the past. The wolf surged closer, and the echoes grew louder, a cacophony of sound urging them onward. "Jason!" Ava called, panic clawing at her throat. Suddenly, ahead of them, a dark figure emerged from the underbrush, eyes gleaming this time, not a wolf but a man, motionless and powerful, blocking their escape. "Stop!" he commanded, his voice deep and resonant, drawn from the very shadows themselves. The man smiled, but there was no warmth in his expression. And in that instant, Ava realized the truth. The danger they were fleeing had a face, and it was waiting for them. What did this man want, and how was he connected to both Jason and the wolves? The questions ignited fear anew as dread wrapped around her like a vice. "Who are you?" Ava gasped, heart pounding with the knowledge that their fight was just beginning. The man took a step forward, his presence commanding an air of menace that made Ava shrink back against Jason. She could see his sharp features illuminated by flashes of lightning, each revealing a glimmer of malice in his eyes. "You don't need to run," he purred, his voice like silk draped over a blade. "You've already come this far, descendants of the bloodline." Jason bared his teeth, instinctively positioning himself in front of Ava. "Back off!" he shouted, every ounce of fight residing in his stance. But the man only chuckled softly, dark amusement dancing in his gaze. "So brave," he said, as if he savored Jason's defiance. He glanced over his shoulder, and Ava's heart seized as she saw the wolf closing in, its breath ragged and mouth foaming. "But you know what's chasing you. You can't escape your fate." A sudden rush of adrenaline propelled Ava forward. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, her voice stronger than she felt. She needed answers. She couldn't let fear paralyze her. The man's smile broadened, revealing teeth that gleamed too white against the night. "You're a riddle waiting to be solved," he mused. "Ava, your existence is woven into this story. You are the key." The wolf growled from behind, low and deep, cutting through their exchange. Ava could feel the vibration in her bones as she glanced back, the creature's eyes locked onto her with a predatory focus that made her stomach twist. What story?" Jason asked, confusion flickering across his face. He shifted uncomfortably, testing the ground beneath him, but the dark figure held his ground, unwavering. "The legacy of your ancestors," he responded with a deliberate slowness. "One that binds you to the wolves. One that connects your destinies." Ava felt her pulse quicken. Was this true? Could her life in the shadows of her past hold the key to their survival? She thought of the whispers in the woods, the strange feelings that swirled inside her when she was close to danger. "And if we refuse?" she pressed, igniting the spark of defiance that Jason had shown moments ago. "Refusal isn't an option," the man said coolly. He pointed towards the wolf, which had now settled down, muscles tense and poised for a leap. "It's a part of you now, Ava. You can fight it or embrace it." She glanced at Jason, his eyes wide with worry and resolution, drawing strength from each other. "What do you want us to do?" Jason finally asked, his voice steadying. The man's smile faded slightly. A sacrifice must be made. The blood must flow. Only then can you both unlock your true potential. Ava recoiled, a wave of nausea hitting her. No. I won't hurt anyone. Your stubbornness may cost you, the man replied, his tone growing dark, echoing with something beyond human. The choice is yours, but remember, he pointed at the growling wolf once more. Time is running out, and that beast hungers for more than just a chase. Ava felt a pulse of fear-hunger. The wolf wasn't far behind them, and neither was the man, who held their fate in his hands. With every passing second, they were closer to being captured, more than severely injured. She glanced at Jason, her heart fluttering in desperation. Was there really a way out? Suddenly, a deep howl pierced the air, echoing through the trees. The wolf halted, its ears pricking up as it turned toward the sound, an alarm call from deeper in the forest. What now? She asked, both terrified and relieved. The man straightened, his calm facade now shattered by concern. It seems our time is up. You must decide quickly, he growled before backing away, allowing the wolf to inch forward. In that moment, all options lay before them, the choices, the shadows, the blood that needed to be shed. Ava felt a war raging within her, a crossroads that could change everything, but before she could speak, the man whispered ominously, "Remember, the wolf waits, and the legacy is unyielding." They stood at the precipice of a nightmare, the truth swirling in front of them like a storm cloud ready to shatter. What would they choose? The weight of uncertainty hung heavily, and just as they began to move, the howl rang out again, growing nearer, a sinister echo of what was to come. In a heartbeat, Jason grabbed Ava's hand, squeezing it tightly. We have to act now. The urgency in his voice snapped her back, forcing her to confront the lingering darkness of their fate. But as they turned to escape, the ground trembled once more, the wind howled ferociously, and the chilling laughter of the man reverberated in the wind, promising that this was only the beginning of their nightmare. What could be worse than what they had already faced? What other horrors awaited them in the depth of the forest? Ava's heart raced at the thought there were answers she surely had yet to uncover. But the question echoed hauntingly in her mind: how far would they have to go to find the truth? The howl of the wolf sent chills racing down Ava's spine as she and Jason sprinted into the darkness, hearts pounding like war drums. The ground beneath them was uneven, roots clawing at their feet like grasping hands trying to pull them back. Darkness enveloped them, but fear lit the path ahead. Each breath was a frantic gasp, each heartbeat a reminder of their impending doom. How do we fight this? Jason panted, barely able to keep pace with her. Sweat dripped down his brow, mixing with the rain that had begun to fall in heavy sheets, soaking their clothes. I don't know. Ava shouted back, the desperation making her voice more urgent. But we can't let it catch us. The memory of the man's smile, both inviting and terrifying, flickered through her mind. He said she held the key, but what did that mean? Ahead, the forest opened into a small clearing, moonlight breaking through the clouds, illuminating a peculiar stone altar at its center. The sight pulled Ava in, something about it whispering secrets in the chaos. Look! She yelled, halting abruptly and pointing. Jason skidded to a stop behind her, eyes darting back and forth from the altar to the trees closing in around them. We can't waste time. He tugged at her arm, panic evident in his voice. But as the moonlight wrapped around the altar, Ava felt an undeniable pull. Wait, we should check it out. It could be important. With hesitation, Jason followed her, caution stamped on his features. They approached the altar, their breaths visible in the cool night air. The stone was ancient and worn, engraved with symbols Ava couldn't decipher. But one shape caught her eye, a crescent moon surrounded by the intricate pattern of wolves. What does it mean? Jason whispered, leaning closer as if it might answer him. I don't know, but Ava trailed off, dark memories flickering like shadows behind her eyes. They felt like echoes of laughter, fleeting but potent, warning her of something long forgotten yet painfully familiar. Just then, the wolf-esque growl rumbled in the distance, a harsh reminder of danger. It's coming. Jason snapped her back to reality. Wait. In a burst of impulse, Ava reached out and touched the cold stone. Instantly, it was as if the air had thickened around them. A surge of energy pulsed through her fingers, embracing her body like a tempest. She gasped, feeling something awakening inside her, a recognition that made her heart race. "Are you okay?" Jason asked, alarm filling his eyes. I think this is it. The connection to the bloodline, the story he talked about. She turned, her eyes alight with urgency. "This might be how we fight." But before she could explain more, the wolf's howl erupted again, this time closer, echoing like an ominous promise from the trees. The dark figure had stepped deeper into the night, an unsettling shadow at the edge of perception. "Ava!" Jason shouted, pulling her away just as the bushes rustled ominously, darkness spilling forth as the wolf lunged into view, massive, eyes glowing like embers, its teeth a line of sharp daggers. "Run!" They turned in sync, but something in her gut held her back. "Jason! We have to do something. It'll kill us." He screeched, desperation painting his words, but she couldn't turn away from the stone. It beckoned to her, demanding her attention. What if the answer is right here? The storm surged within her, a fierce resolve igniting her spirit. "I can't just run and hide." In that moment, the wolf lunged, snapping its jaws inches from Ava's face, and she had to act. "I need to try." She yanked her hand away from Jason's grip and thrust it over the altar, searching for whatever power lay dormant within the symbols. The wolf halted, head cocked, and a moment passed, stretched thin like a trembling string ready to snap. There was a pulse, the same energy that flowed through her veins surged outward from the altar, surrounding them both, but would it be enough to push back the beast? When the wolf snarled, its fur bristled, and from the shadows, the man emerged once more, his eyes darkening. The connection can be forged, but it requires more than just willpower. His tone was mocking, each word laden with menace. "What do you mean?" Ava shouted back, fear and anger bubbling inside her. She had to understand. "What do we need?" "Only blood will satisfy the hunger, the blood of those bound by the legacy." Jason took a step back, fear etched on his face, and Ava felt it too, a pang of truth slicing through her resolve. They were intertwined, their fates wrapped up in the same dark tapestry. We can't do that." "Then you're already lost." The wolf moved closer, the ground vibrating beneath their feet, a living reminder of the stakes at hand. "How far will you go?" The man's voice dripped with temptation. "To save them both?" Ava's mind raced, weighing the weight of sacrifice against the flickering ember of hope inside her. She would not let fear win, but at what cost? As the wolf closed in, the air thick with a palpable tension, Ava felt all eyes watching. It was now or never. But as she looked at Jason, their shared fear transformed into determination. She knew one thing: whatever the decision, it would change everything. Unbeknownst to them, the wind held a secret, a whispered warning carried through the trees. A truth beyond mere blood awaited, growing ever closer to their ears. Would they grasp the significance before it was too late? As the wolf lunged, and darkness enveloped them once more, the chilling question echoed in her mind: what would follow in the reckoning of their choices? Ava's heart thudded in her chest as the wolf lunged closer, its hot breath fanning her face. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to retreat into the safety of the dense forest behind them. But the altar, with its intricate carvings, held her in a trance, hinting at untapped power just waiting to be released. "Jason, we can't just let it overpower us," she shouted, desperation spilling from her lips. She could feel the energy from the altar pulsing like a heartbeat, urging her to take the plunge. "What do you expect to do? Talk it down?" Jason's voice was edged with panic, but Ava caught a glimmer of something else in his eyes, hope mixed with a willingness to fight. Closing her eyes for a fleeting moment, Ava drew in a breath, finding courage in the upheaval around her. She opened her eyes and shouted, "I'm connected to this. It's part of who I am." She stepped closer to the altar, the power within her awakening like a dormant beast faintly stirring. The wolf paused, its muscles tensing, unmoving, and she caught it eyeing the altar, recognizing a challenge. Ava sensed the shift, a crackling tension in the air thick enough to slice through. "Come on, Jason. We have to hold our ground." But Jason hesitated, fear bleeding into his determination. What if it doesn't work? What if we die for nothing? His voice trembled. Before she could respond, the wolf-esque growl reverberated through the clearing, a primal warning. It was as if the shadows themselves conspired to hold her back. Just then, the man's sinister laugh echoed in the clearing, chilling her resolve. "Will you risk it all for a gamble rooted in blood?" He sneered, stepping forward, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Dare you press forward knowing you could quite literally lose everything?" "Might as well try something," Jason said, a flicker of resolution hardening his tone. The wolf lunged again, the sheer size of it blocking out the moonlight as it barreled forward, ready to crush them beneath its weight. "Now!" Ava shouted, instinct taking over. She slammed her hand against the altar, wishing desperately for whatever power it possessed to unleash itself. In that instant, the symbols carved into stone began to glow with an ethereal light, pulsating beneath her fingers. An avalanche of energy poured from her, bursting into the air like a storm unleashed. The glow enveloped the wolf, causing it to flinch, its powerful body recoiling against the brilliance. "Ava, what's happening?" Jason backed away, eyes wide. "I'm not sure," she cried out, pushing deeper into the energy flowing from her. The very essence of the altar thrummed like a heartbeat intertwined with hers, each pulse awakening memories she didn't fully understand yet. Threads of light connected her to Jason and the altar alike, a tapestry she had only begun to weave. Then she heard it an echo in the shadows. Whispers, ancient and familiar. "You are the key. Unlock the truth. I can feel it. I can." But before she could finish, the wolf regained its footing, letting out a ferocious snarl that rattled her bones. Its eyes locked with hers, a challenge she could not shrink away from. "That's it, Ava!" Jason shouted, a mix of fear and belief in his voice, galvanizing her. "Fight with me. We can't let it consume us." She dragged in a deep breath, pouring every ounce of herself into the connection binding them. Raw, unfiltered energy coursed through her veins, feeding off her fear and turning it into something feral and vibrant. She felt like a storm, ready to unleash herself upon the night. Then, the wolf charged again. "Just a little more." Ava yelled as she summoned the last of her strength, visualizing the threads of energy feeding into the wolf, wrapping around its massive frame, not as chains, but as restraint born from loyalty, a legacy she was beginning to understand. As the wolf stumbled, its glow flickering, a sharp crack of thunder sounded overhead, momentarily blinding them with light. And then silence, a fundamental shift hung between them, a tense breath suspended in time. Ava and Jason exchanged looks, shaken yet resolute. But as they prepared to confront the dark truth of their connection, they heard it, the low growl of the wolf morphing into something else entirely. "What now?" Jason whispered, dread knotting in his stomach. "If the blood proves our bond, what else could it awaken?" Ava replied, a shiver crawling down her spine. In the flickering light, shadows danced dangerously close, a new revelation clawing its way to the surface. They had awakened something deeper than mere blood. But was it the ally they needed, or a new enemy waiting to emerge? The answer loomed, heavy with the weight of their choices, ready to unravel the story written in their DNA. The wind whipped around them, carrying secrets only half explained. They had stumbled upon a threshold, but would they step through it, or were they destined to remain shackled by fear? As the wolf steadied itself, its eyes burning brighter than before, Ava knew one thing: they were far from finished. Ava felt the energy pulse between her and the altar, thickening the air around them like fog. The wolf shook off the remnants of its confusion, eyes locked onto her with a fiery intensity. Jason was beside her, every muscle tense, ready to spring into action. "We can't let it control us," he growled, his voice low and fierce. She nodded, the storm within her echoing the chaos outside. The rain didn't just fall, it howled and crashed as if the very world demanded an answer. The wolf's form shifted, muscles rippling beneath its fur, a creature of instinct and raw power. It prowled in a calculated manner, ready to expose any weakness. "Ava, remember what he said about the bloodline," Jason urged, trying to keep the fear from his voice. This is our power, our legacy. We need to embrace it. Taking a shaky breath, she stepped forward, feeling the altar's warmth gripping her. Look at the symbols, she whispered urgently. They're connecting us. They're calling out. Just as that realization crystallized, the wind howled, sounding like a warning, urging her to understand. With a sudden decision, Ava raised her hands, palms turning upwards, and clenched her fists. I accept who I am. I choose this. She cried into the tumult, the declaration rising against the wolf-esque growls and the crackling storm. The moment those words escaped her mouth, the altar responded, radiating a stunning light that illuminated the clearing. The wolf halted, eyes widening, curiously drawn to her. Ava. Jason warned, stepping closer protectively, but she could feel the energy of her heritage sparking within her, igniting flames of courage stronger than ever. Just trust me. Her voice rang clear. She had fought too hard to turn back now. The wolf-esque growling softened, its posture almost testing, like it was weighing the merit of her resolve. Let us show it what we can do together. Jason shouted, rallying her spirit. He stepped beside her, matching her stance. Ava's mind raced back to lost memories, the whispers of the legacy calling her forward. A connection thrummed in the air, tangible like the rain-soaked earth beneath their feet. Embracing the surge, she drew from the depths of her heart, mixing her fear with newfound strength. We are the legacy, she declared, and with emphasis, she slammed her hands down onto the altar. In a blinding flash, the energy erupted, wrapping around the wolf, binding it in a web of brilliant light. The air trembled, vibrating with the sound of an ancient chant, one that rose from the very earth. The wolf howled, not in anger but in recognition. Its body shuddered as the energy enveloped it. Ava felt the connection deepen like a bond being forged anew. A moment stretched into eternity, and everything around them pulsed in a rhythm that set her free. We are one. Ava shouted. We will not hide from the truth that binds us. With those words, the light intensified, churning through the air until it enveloped both her and Jason, dawn breaking through their nightmare and forming a sanctuary of warmth around them. The wolf gazed at them with glowing, understanding eyes, slowly bowing its head in acknowledgement, a shift from predator to ally, and then, with a brilliant flash, the altar erupted, and the wolf howled, a sacred sound joining theirs, a sound not of terror, but of rebirth, harmonizing as a pact forged in ancient love. Thunder cracked like a whip, and the man's mocking laughter was but a distant echo against their newfound unity. No longer will you be defined by fear. Ava cried, tears of relief spilling down her cheeks as she breathed in the exhilaration of her victory. The wolf transformed, shimmering into a radiant figure before her. The man's sinister smirk faded, replaced by a look of shock. You've done the impossible, but you've only begun, he snickered, but now there was a different tone, one laced with anxiety rather than arrogance. What do you mean? Jason stepped forward defiantly, ready for a fight. Before the man could answer, the earth shook beneath them. Shadows began to swirl, a dark force rising, their work not yet concluded. Ava and Jason shared a determined glance, a shared understanding of the legacy they now bore. I won't let them take this from us. She gritted her teeth, newfound strength burning under her skin like wildfire. She could see it now, a bright path ahead, illuminated by their ancestors past and embraced by their courage. Together? Jason shouted, voice steady and strong. Together. Ava replied, heart racing with belief, and as the storm above split open in a blaze of energy, new voices joined theirs, a chorus of the past, rallying through time and spilling into the present. The legacy would not just survive, it would flourish. They stepped forward, ready to embrace this change, ready to face whatever followed. As they charged into the shadows, driven by courage and unity, something deep within them shifted, an understanding that blood wasn't a curse to bear but a gift to honor. This was where their legacies intertwined, and this time, they were ready to confront every challenge together, drawing on the strength that came from knowing who they truly were. In a world that had once threatened to silence them, Ava and Jason wouldn't back down. They had fought for their truths, and together they would steal back their futures. You need to subscribe immediately to catch all the exclusive stories coming your way. This is the moment to show your support. So smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this jaw-dropping conclusion. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic ending.